Gonna try the Facebook thing real quick and then. Hello, everybody. Thank you for coming. Just gonna give it a minute for people to log in with us. Can everyone hear me okay? Sweet. And we are on Facebook just fine. Recording. Okie doke. I'm going to get started just for the sake of everyone's time. Good afternoon. Happy Tuesday. Thank you all for coming. My name is Danielle Angelari, and I'm the Executive Director of NAMI Northern Illinois. We're an affiliate of the National Alliance on Mental Illness that serves Winnebago, Boone, and surrounding counties in our region. We do this through offering support, education, advocacy, and hope to those touched by mental illness and our community at large. I am going to keep my introductions short and sweet today. First, I'd like to mention our next community webinar will be held Tuesday, March 8th at 5:30 over Zoom with Joan Lodge from Rosecrans. She'll update us on the progress of 988. Suicide prevention is a critical need internationally. Since 2008, suicide has ranked as the 10th leading cause of death in the United States. 988 has been designated as the new 3-digit dialing code and will route callers to the National Suicide Prevention Hotline. This dialing code will be available to everyone across the United States starting on July 16th of 2022. For anyone who has an adult family member or loved one living with a mental health condition, registration is open for our family-to-family education courses, both in English and in Spanish. Research shows that this program significantly improves the coping and problem-solving abilities of people closest to a person living with a mental health condition. These courses will begin in the spring. And finally, I just want to mention that we have a little fundraiser we're running with Mrs. Fields goodies if anyone's interested in browsing through the products. All of those things I mentioned, I will include in a follow-up email to you all this afternoon. Now on to our presentation. For many, work is a key contributing factor to a sense of purpose and well-being. Thus, it's crucial that employers understand how to foster a mental health friendly work culture. The workplace is one of the most important environments to discuss mental health and illness, yet it is the last place we expect to hear about it. Employees can be afraid of discussing the topics with coworkers and bosses. They don't want to lose their jobs, damage relationships, or risk future employees or employers learning of their illness and judging them. Thankfully, employers have the opportunity to change the climate of unease regarding mental health at work. Here to chat with us a little bit about this is Olivia Goral. Olivia serves her community as a practicing social worker at Family Counseling Services of Rockford, while also running a successful business specializing in energy efficiency. Working in both mental health and business and having a degree in industrial and organizational psychology brings her a well-rounded awareness and knowledge of our topic, mental health in the workplace. Olivia, thank you so much for sharing your time with us this afternoon. And to our audience, if there are any questions, please feel free to write them in the Q&A box and we'll facilitate those at the end of the presentation. And I also do have a quick poll for you, so please stick around and I will hand it over to you, Olivia. Thank you again.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Danielle. I'm super excited that I see so many participants here today. I kind of wasn't knowing what to expect, but I'm happy to see you all. It's a little weird in this webinar video cam way. I'm used to more live presentations, so bear with me. I'm going to share my screen so we can start a presentation here. I want to tell you a little bit about me. I went to school at DePaul University in Chicago for my bachelor's degree, which is in industrial and organizational psychology. I know that is a huge mouthful, so we're going to pretty much call it IO throughout this presentation. It's kind of ironic that I got a degree in this field because my specialty is kind of more one-to-one counseling, psychology, mental health, and I didn't think that this was a field that would fit for me, but it turns out that I am able to help more of a variety of people kind of having this background. So we're going to talk more about what IO psychology is here in a moment. And then I'm also getting my master's degree at Simmons University in clinical social work, and I'm a clinical social worker here at Family Counseling Services of Rockford. I do one-to-one counseling here in the evenings, mostly teens and young adults. So that's kind of my background educationally. I also run a business during the day that specializes in energy efficiency. We've grown so much over the past year, and it's been a real whirlwind. So educationally, in my background, I think gives me a place to speak on mental health in the workplace, but I've also experienced, burnout and all of these things that we talk about when it comes to mental health at work. So we're going to start with talking about what industrial and organizational psychology is. It's the study of behavior in work settings, basically. We apply the same methods and the same principles of psychology that we would in like one-to-one therapy and things like that, but to individuals and groups in organizational settings. So IO psychologists are versatile behavioral specialists. And they really focus on the workplace. They really tie into human resources, which we all know is an important part of every system and organization when it comes to implementing processes and procedures that may or may not benefit our employees. IO has contributed to the general well-being of America by electing people that are suited and special for a position. It makes the most sense for them, putting in training and developing so that they're more effective in their work, reducing bias in employment and the disadvantaged populations that we discriminate against. IO has had a really big part in advocating in that aspect. They improve safety and comfort at work, and they really enhance the quality of work life. So if a company has an IO psychologist, that is of major benefit to its employees. This is just kind of a little timeline showing how long industrial psychology has actually been a thing. So it started in the early 1900s, and they were using psychological science to screen out candidates. It started, I think, with like trolley cars. So deciding, who could run a trolley car safely, and they used psychological science to determine this. It also got really huge during the World War time. So from the 1910s to the 40s, we used a lot of psychological testing for selection and placement of military personnel. In the 60s and 80s, or through the 80s, I should say, is when the organizational piece was added to the IO, the industrial. They got really large into testing, selection, who was perfect for a specific role, and what the hiring processes should look like. In the 1980s and up through early 2000s, it became really about team development, what motivates employees, fairness within employment. During the 70s, 80s, there were a lot of laws and policy coming out that were affecting employees pretty strongly. So IO kind of stepped in to make sure that there was a fairness within employment. And of course, compensation. There's been a lot of changes in compensation over the years, having to up minimum wage to make sense for people's lives. And over the past 20 years, IO has really gone towards extensive job analysis. A lot of larger corporations are being asked to create these hierarchies and extensive job descriptions so that they can really decide who is perfect for a position and make that interviewing process easier. Goal setting, job satisfaction techniques. Again, IO is about what motivates employees, what makes them more efficient, effective, happy, and what will retain them. There's been a significance in benefits, what we can offer employees, training, promotion, and this idea of the work-life merge, which we're going to talk about soon as well. So again, IO is kind of a piece of HR, but human resources management is pretty transactional in nature. You know, they have decisions that they need to make, they're made, they happen, their actions on a regular basis. Whereas IO psychologists, their work is very project-based, it's very research-based. It's developing procedures and practices that they're designing and implementing to better support and help the employees of a specific field. These are the two most important topics in IO today, I would say: innovation and the work-life merge. I think you would all probably agree that an organization cannot be innovative without its employees. It can't prosper, flourish. It just, without the employees there to do the work and being innovative, it's not going to be a beneficial one. In the workplace, we see a positive correlation between motivation and innovation, and we're all experiencing incredible work-life conflict, especially during these times with COVID, and that negatively influences our performance at work. So IO and human resources teamed up do have the potential to foster employees' engagement in innovative activities and reduce that tension between work and their private life. So this lovely woman on the screen here, she's awesome. Her name is Emily White, and she was a Facebook executive, and she coined the term work-life merge. And I know a lot of us use the term work-life balance, right? That's something you've probably heard more. This differs from the balance concept because it suggests a life where work and your personal life, your personal activities are more intertwined. Whereas if we look at the term work-life balance, it seems as though work is on one side of a seesaw and your life and everything that you care about personally is on the other side. And one is up and one is down. So this work-life merge really takes into consideration that individuals that experience a work-life merge tend to like their work more and like their life more. And they're more able to kind of tailor things to best fit their lifestyle. So I think that's really important. In social work, we talk a lot about the language around things, and I've always really appreciated that. So again, this term work-life merge kind of seems better fitting and more helpful to us as workers. This is a piece of art that I really wanted to share with all of you today, and I'm not sure if you've already seen this before because it was developed back in 2016, so it's likely that you may have, but it's gone very viral lately on social media. This was created by a Chinese art duo in 2016, and it is inside this large box. It's an installation that features an industrial robot with a visual recognition sensor, and it's programmed to shovel liquid that spills from itself out onto the floor. And it's just constantly in this cycle of frantically trying to clean up this almost blood-like liquid, right? And so the second the liquid spills past a point, it sweeps it back. And originally it was programmed to kind of do these dance moves and these fun things, and people were coming far and wide to see this. But over the years, people are saying that it seems like it's slowing down. It seems like it's having a hard time doing those dance moves. And I'm not sure if you guys watch these, but it's pretty popular on YouTube now to do these reaction videos, where on one side of the screen, you see a video happening, and on the other side, the person doing the video is kind of reacting to what they're seeing live. And so there's a lot of these videos of people watching this robot do what it does. for the first time. And they're saying things like, wow, he used to look so much happier and now he looks really tired, or he looks like he wants to give up. And they've literally programmed this robot to have a simple task to clean up this mess. And the fact that it can't makes me really sad, these people are saying. So people are kind of humanizing this robot and they're identifying with what's going on here. And I'm sure a lot of you can relate. I know that I feel like this sometimes on a daily basis. It's like I'm given this task and I'm doing it every day, but I'm just getting more and more tired, and it's getting harder and harder. And maybe it's even making you physically ill, like this robot is having a harder time even doing its dance moves. So I just wanted to share this with you because I think it's super descriptive of what a lot of us feel and go through. I just think it's really impactful and powerful. So if you're motivated to, you can research this. It's the Can't Help Myself robot, and watch its videos. It's pretty intense, I think. So again, I want to talk about language. It's something that I really enjoy, is talking about the language around things. Just like that robot, we experience what we've always called burnout. But I want to change this language and instead call it moral injury. There's a lot of research around this lately, especially when it comes to professions like education and our teachers and clinicians doing therapy and surgeons doing surgery and being doctors. So burnout kind of says that the problem lies within the individual. The individual is deficient, or they don't have the resilience to just get through this or withstand the work environment. And so the solution falls on them. And many of the solutions to distress that we tell people are, go focus on yoga or go practice some mindfulness. Do some meditation. And although there's nothing inherently wrong with those practices, it's kind of absurd to believe that going and doing some yoga this morning would change what's happening to you at work and the stress that you are under. They're great. I love mindfulness. I love self-care, but really this word burnout says that there's something wrong with us. But moral injury, on the other hand, is more of a result of the business framework that we're in. Our values and our morals are not being acknowledged. It describes this challenge of knowing what we need to do, but not being able to perform well or to do those things because of constraints beyond our control. So for example, teachers, educators, there is such a huge shortage right now. You have so many teachers leaving the field. You have young students that were pursuing education that have quit and they don't want to do that anymore, largely because of what's happening with COVID. And you have veteran teachers that were trained to do something one way and have been touching the brains and the hearts of children for 30 years. And now they're being asked to do something entirely different, and they just cannot meet what's being asked of them. And what's being asked of them isn't necessarily within their original values or morals. They want to change the lives of children. They want to educate. They don't want to fill out form upon form upon form and submit all these statistics and walk around in front of a video camera. They want to change lives. And so this is kind of where that moral injury makes more sense than burnout. It's not our fault. So don't put it on yourself that you're tired and you're running out of energy and you're running out of the motivation to keep going in something maybe that you once loved. So the solution here is kind of more engagement. What can our fields, our companies, our systems be doing for us so that this doesn't happen? How can they better acknowledge our values and our morals? So again, language, super important. And I'm sorry, I'm so nasally today. Of course, I woke up ill yesterday. That would happen to me. It's just my luck. So excuse my nasally sniffling extraness. So this is an example of a terrible situation when it comes to mental health in the workplace. What you're seeing here is a place referred to as Foxconn City, and Foxconn is a corporation in China. They have like 2 million employees or something like that that all work for different sub companies underneath it. But basically, this facility makes the Apple iPhone. And it may be super dramatic of me to say that this is the exact reason why I've never purchased an Apple product. That's probably absurd. But when I learned about this in 2010, I just couldn't bring myself. So in 2010, workers at this facility in China started committing suicide. They started jumping from the top of the building. In 2010, there were, I believe, 18 reported attempts, 14 confirmed suicides, and like 20 or more that were talked down by officials. Terry Gao was the CEO at the time, and his solution to this was installing these very large nets around the buildings, also around the dormitories that people lived in, or the workers lived in as well, to catch people who jumped. It's amazing that this was the thought of solution versus any type of mental health support. So an American author, his name's Brian Merchant, he wrote an excellent book about this. You guys can all look it up if you're interested. He actually gained access to this facility, which is almost military protected, in 2017 with the help of a journalist from Shanghai and some advice from a worker that just happened to be standing outside. He kind of snuck in by asking one of the military-like security on the outside if he could use the nearest restroom. And he got about a mile of the way into the facility and could see just how the farther you got in, the worse the conditions were. This gentleman that he met on the outside of the building told him about the conditions inside, that if you were to do something wrong, management would put you up in front of hundreds of other employees and discipline you, whether that was maybe physically, he didn't mention, but definitely humiliated you in front of hundreds of other people. They withheld pay. You were to touch 1,800 phones, Apple iPhones a day, no stopping, long shifts. They're sitting in the midst of chemical spillage, a decaying building, definitely a number of things that would surely violate US occupational safety and health admin codes. So again, this is an example of something really bad. I don't know of any examples of this in the United States to this extreme. But again, this is something that we do not want. These employees are so unhappy and so overworked and so depressed and anxious that they are throwing themselves from the top of the building, some of them in protest of the conditions and some of them just because they're in desperation. So this is a really unfortunate example. The next one, though, is Amazon, which I'm sure you all love because I do. And if I'm ever not feeling well, I just go shopping on Amazon. But Amazon brings everything that a corporation or a business should want to their employees. I know a few employees there as well as upper management, and these are just some of the many things that they've shared with me about what they do for their employees. If you are a gay couple and you would like a child, Amazon will help you pay to adopt or do insemination or whatever you need to do to develop your family. That is incredible that they are that family oriented that they would say, let me help you pay for this because you shouldn't have to. We want you to be happy. Instead of doing a 90-day wait like a lot of companies do, they give immediate health benefits. They say, you're hired, Go sign up right now, do your packet. Let's get you health insurance. We want you to be healthy. You don't have to wait 90 days. We believe in you. They do tuition reimbursement, whether you want to be a paralegal or business person, whatever you want to do, as long as you're working for Amazon, they pay up to like 95% or something like that. That's extreme for me. After 2 degrees, I'm sitting at about $100,000 in debt. And so to know that there's a company out there that cares about an individual so much that they would provide that tuition reimbursement and take that weight off of them, I stand by that so much. They send out regular mental health newsletters. They have a program called AmCare, Amazon Care for short. It's an on-site while you're at work safety group, whether it's physical safety or mental health, emotional safety, they're there for you. They have an app where you can access self-assessments. If you're feeling depressed or at risk in any way, there's these different self-assessments that you can take that will then give you some resources that you can access to help you with whatever the results of those assessments might be. There's this thing called Resources for Living, and it's basically access to counseling and therapy resources for people that have addictions, have trouble within their relationships, need financial help. So again, they're super focused on mental health and caring for their employees. Visually, if you walk into an Amazon building, you have these lovely pieces of art and statements around visual promotion of humanity, kindness, compassion, acceptance. So you're walking by these things every day and knowing, wow, this is a company that stands by these values. And I'm really happy to be working for them. I know I would be. They have a 24/7 helpline. If you need to call in or message, they can do video therapy for anything that you need help with, mental health or otherwise. And more importantly than a lot of these other things is this mental health training that they do for their management. So their management are trained in a lot of the things that we as clinicians are trained in. They're trained in de-escalation. So if something happens that's escalated at work, they know how to step in and handle that. They're trained in cultural humanity. They're trained in empathy and listening with an empathetic ear. This is so important and could be a first step for really any field, any system, any corporation. If upper management were trained in these types of things, I think the world overall would be a lot better. And lastly, and again, this is just some of the many things they offer. They have these cool affinity groups is what they call them. And they're basically support groups for different populations. They have the BEN, which is the Black Employee Network, I believe it is. They have Glamazon, which is for the LGBTQ plus community. They have Warriors, which is for veterans. And these are groups that meet, I think it's bi-weekly or monthly, just a support group to be with others that are like them and have like experiences that they can share and work through things and feel like they have a friend. So again, this is an example of what we do want. It would be excellent if we could have all of these things in our workplaces. And I feel like from where I'm standing, these would not be hard things to implement. I think if you had an HR team or even one IO psychologist to develop and implement these things, employees would be a lot happier of where they're working. I want to touch on interviewing a little bit because I think that we go into interviews wanting to impress, right? We stay up all night and we're preparing these responses to basic interview questions, and we want to portray ourselves as the perfect candidate, and we're putting that stress on ourselves. But really what I would advise you to do, or the advice that I have, is to go into your interview knowing your values and your strengths and to advocate for yourself. And this might be silently. Maybe you're a silent advocate in this case, although I'm all for sending a very direct email after you interview at a company or for a position that you did not find thrilling, or that did not float your boat. I think it's excellent to then email the company and say, thank you for the opportunity, but these are the reasons why I don't want to move forward. Because then those companies can take your feedback into consideration and maybe make some changes. But I'm just talking about advocating for yourself by knowing your values and what you deserve and how you may or may not fit with the company or the position that you're interviewing for. Because it's a fact that there are things that we cannot change about others, but we can make the right decisions for ourselves and the decisions that are best for us. So it's really important that you know your values and strengths going into an interview, and ask questions like, do you have an IO psychologist on your team or something equivalent? What's your opinion about an open door policy? What does that look like here? Do you have one? And by open door, I mean, is there somebody that I can go talk to openly when I have a problem or a concern or I need support? What benefits do you offer? Is there anything outside of basic health, dental, vision? Do you provide mental health benefits? What are the backgrounds of your management? These are all questions that we should be asking because it's what we deserve. The answers to these questions should tell us when to choose the position, when it is right for us. And I also want to say, when you're new to a field and you're straight out of education and you're young, your management will say, wow, they have a fresh outlook, they have a lot of energy, and they will take advantage. So I think it's really important to know that you deserve to be treated like a professional. You went through the education, or you went through the training, or you went through what you needed to gain this position. And so you have to know your value and make sure that you're not being taken advantage of and that you're speaking up when needed. So again, kind of that open door policy moment. So I think that this would be a helpful thing for you all to utilize. I'm not sure if you know about it, but this is the VIA Institute on Character. Their little slogan is science of strengths, the practice of well-being. Basically, knowing your strengths equals well-being. They're based in Cincinnati, Ohio, and they're a nonprofit that brings science of character strengths to the world. And so this is a really helpful tool to use when maybe seeking a new job position or deciding if the position that you're working is one that fits you. So this is totally free. You can go on their website. It's about 96 questions. I think it took me about 10 minutes. And it shows you what your 5 top character strengths are, the ones in the middle, and then your 5 least strengths. So when I took this, my number 1 strength was social intelligence, which is being aware of the feelings and the motives of yourself and the people that are around you, and kind of how to fit into different social situations. And so that makes a lot of sense for my career as a social worker, right? I need to be aware of the feelings of others, and I need to know how to fit into different social situations. I work with a lot of different people from many different backgrounds, and I need to be able to empathize and practice cultural humility regardless of whoever I'm with. So that is my top strength makes sense. My next ones are like love, bravery, leadership. Again, they make sense for the careers that I work in. So I totally recommend taking this character strengths test. I think it helped me a lot. Some of my lower strengths were perseverance and zest. And when I looked into them, I think that makes a lot of sense. The perseverance is kind of finishing what you start and not giving up. And I think I've had a hard time with that. in my workplace because of the burnout or the moral injury. And I'm often in my roles asked to stop what I'm doing and start something new because there's a new crisis or a new fire to put out. And so I don't get to finish what I started. And then zest is kind of that energy, that vigor, that enthusiasm that you have. And again, sometimes I can feel like that robot that can't help myself pushing that blood like oil around the floor and never fully getting it cleaned up. And I know I'm sure a lot of you can relate to that. So again, just a really helpful tool for you to use to know what your strengths are and what your values are. This is something fun that I did when I realized that I was going to be doing this presentation for you all. Over the past couple of weeks, everywhere that I've gone out doing errands or whatever, I've stopped a worker and asked them, what makes you happy and motivated at work? Or what would make you happier at work? And here's just some of the things that people have said. A public school teacher said simply being able to talk to their supervisors and have them hear her would have made her happier. I know in education right now, it's really hard to get your hands on a supervisor and get that support. So I hear that. Somebody at Target said, I love that they remember my birthday and that they acknowledge it with a gift. It makes me feel like I'm not just a worker, I'm part of another family. A doctor said they would love a fresh, clean space to go to and an allotted time to go rest and go relax and kind of diffuse. Opportunities to improve themselves, PTO, vacation time, simply doing something that they loved. One of my favorite ones on here, though, was from a worker at Walmart that told me that they want to come to work to see their friends, that finding a friend at work has made all of the difference. Maybe they don't exactly love what they're doing, but that they're happy to go to work to see their friend, a relationship that they've developed, I think is really powerful. And I feel exactly the same way in my workplaces. I think that if even there are days that I feel like I don't like the task that I'm doing necessarily, or it's not my interest, I feel like I'm going home every day when I walk into work. I'm with a family. I am motivated by the people that are around me. I have upper management bosses that would literally do anything for me, and they are just so loving and empathetic and patient and generous. Those are the people that you want to surround yourself with at work. And if it's not like that for you at work, maybe a change needs to be made. If something's not working in your life, you can always advocate for yourself to make a change. I don't know what I would do if I didn't have a work family. So I think that that's super important. You get so much support out of that. Here are a couple self-care items that you can try. I've never truly been, I'm going to be honest with you, an advocate for self-care. I felt because I didn't have time that I couldn't implement caring for myself. But a few of these are things that I've recently stumbled upon that I have found really beneficial. Gratitude journaling is one of them. I teach it to all of my clients that I have as a social worker. If you are an anxious person, a depressed person, struggling to find meaning in your work, gratitude journaling can help you so much. It's scientifically proven to reduce stress, reduce symptoms of anxiety and depression, increase your ability to sleep well. There's just so many health benefits that come with gratitude journaling indirectly. So if you can find time, just even 5 minutes to sit down in an evening and say, these are 5 things that I'm really grateful for and why, you might make a difference. And you might even realize some things that you didn't know made you really happy, or maybe even vice versa, things that aren't making you happy that you need to change. So gratitude journaling, it takes a few minutes. And again, there's so many benefits with that. Even if it seems like a trivial activity, I think you will really notice a difference. Shower meditation is a new thing that I just happened upon, and I am obsessed with it, you guys. If you have like a little speaker that you can bring into the bathroom or even just your phone, you start your shower, you go on YouTube, and you just type in shower meditation. And there are different ones for different points in your day. So if you're a morning person, which I am not, pretty much don't speak to me before 10 a.m. You might want to do a shower meditation that is morning focused, like getting you ready for your day, upping your energy, getting you prepared. I like the evening ones a lot because they kind of walk you through washing the negativity or the stress of your day away. And we all shower. So this is something that you can implement pretty easily because a majority of us shower regularly. So this isn't something that you have to stop your day for and do. It's something that you can implement and something that you already do all the time. Self-reflection can be a form of journaling, or it could be talking out loud to yourself, or it could be when you lay your head down at night and you're just thinking. In social work, we're taught to do process recordings and kind of these self-reflections about how our sessions went with a client so that we can analyze, how did we react when someone said something? Should we have reacted differently? Are there any like feelings coming up for me? Is there any transference happening? And if you can do this as an employee and reflect on your day and what your priorities are and what did or didn't make you happy, you may be able to start drawing some conclusions about changes that you could make for yourself, things you might want to bring up with your company, things that you might want to advocate to change. And lastly, renaming anxiety has been something that's been super successful with my clients. If you are a high anxiety person, whether that's caused by work and overwhelm or not, renaming anxiety has caused a major difference in my clients' lives. So anxiety is kind of like a little person, annoying person living in your head, right? That is constantly triggering you to be anxious and to be stressed and to be worried. But the more you interrupt an annoying person and tell them to go away, the more likely they are to start going away and for that anxiety to start decreasing if we can interrupt it. So I teach my clients to say, I'm not anxious, I'm tired. Or I'm not anxious, I'm irritated. Or I'm not anxious, I just don't want to go to work today. I'm not anxious, I just, whatever the case. Because anxiety is really hard for us to define. It's really hard for us to describe to somebody. But irritation or being tired or not wanting to do something is a lot easier to put our fingers on than anxiety. So I've taught coworkers and my clients to use this, I'm not anxious, I'm this, to interrupt that anxiety, decrease those symptoms, and more easily be able to address and assess what they're actually going through, what they're actually experiencing. And from there, you can develop solutions easier. And lastly, just about self-care, I want to say you have to be super conscious of your self-care moments. It's not enough to just go get a massage or a pedicure or do shower meditation. We have to say out loud to ourselves, this is self-care that I'm doing right now. Yay, I love this. I'm treating myself. I'm happy. I'm grateful in this moment. And I'm not going to worry about anything else because I'm taking care of myself. We have to literally say that out loud because our brains aren't built to register daily tasks as special, but a lot of them truly are. Laying your head on your pillow at night is special, and getting to take a shower after a long day is special. Going to the gym and focusing on your health is special. but we have to be conscious of that and we have to acknowledge it. Otherwise, you'll be like I used to be, where I was like, self-care, I don't have time for that. It's not going to benefit me. You have to be conscious and you have to acknowledge it. So again, improving workplace mental health by making it an organizational priority, like Amazon does, for example, knowing what your values are, knowing what your strengths are, focusing on a work-life merge where your work and your life are one and they're not separate, acknowledging your self-care, advocating for yourself, and knowing what the culture of your workplace is and how you might fit into that or not fit into that, and making the changes that you need to make are really the first steps in improving mental health in the workplace. So thank you all for sitting with me through that and to listening to my little nasally voice there. And if we have any questions or statements or anything like that, I'd be happy to go through those. Oh, I'm looking at our little chat. Sorry, I've never done one of these before. Wisconsin gave tremendous tax incentives to Foxconn to build the plant here during the Trump administration. The plant has not materialized yet. Wow, I didn't know that. Interesting. Yeah, Foxconn. Nets.
Sorry, Olivia, I was talking. I didn't realize I was muted. I just wanted to say thank you again. There is one question that I see so far. It says, job applications include a question about whether an applicant has any disability, including depression, etc. Does it make sense for a person with a history of depression to disclose that when applying?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And there has been this huge shift with IO psychology and applying for jobs. A lot of it's gone virtual, right? A lot of us are applying for positions and things on Indeed. And it's true that management are shuffling through those online and taking something like age, for example, and saying, oh, our company is mostly young. So I'm not even going to worry about this person that graduated in 1987 or something, and just kind of flip them without going through their thing. I think if you're asked on an application, if you suffer from a mental health disability like depression, I don't think you're required to put that down. I don't know if you should, but I think you should bring it up in your interview. If you got the opportunity to interview with a company, I think that's something you should bring up. Like, hey, this is something that I go through and I suffer from, and I'm wondering what you offer that's going to benefit me, because I'm a great worker and I have great strengths. And I'm here to see if I'm a good fit for your company. I think it's not necessary to put down on an application, because you don't want to be surpassed. You don't want someone's bias to hold you up. But I think it's important to advocate for yourself and bring up those truthful pieces about yourself in person in an interview. And if that's what causes them to not choose you, then that's their loss, and that's not the right culture for you.
Thank you. Does anyone else have any questions? Olivia, would you be willing to share your PowerPoint so I can share with everyone that came today?
Oh yeah, how do I do that?
If you just
upload it into the chat?
You can do that, or you can email it to me and I will send it out to all the attendees today.
Oh yeah, I can do that.
All right, awesome.
Well, thank you all so much for sitting with me this lunch hour and listening in.
There's another question. Do you do